Monday, June the 19th, 2017 at 9 a.m. in council chambers. So first is the introduction of late items. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCormick. I'd like to ask for a brief discussion after we're finished with item number 3D, D3. That would be regarding an invite to the mayor of Princeton.
Okay. So we'll just add that to the agenda, and we will have a motion that the committee, the whole agenda be adopted as adjusted. Okay, thank you. Campbell, Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you. So we have two delegations with us this morning, and first is the Foundation Grant Making of 2017, Neighbourhood Small Grants, an update on the Osoyoos Endowment Fund. And we have a presentation from Aaron McCran, who is the Executive Director. And welcome, Aaron.
Thank
so
you.
Go ahead.
Do we have a... While we're setting that up, my colleague Kim English is not able to make it today. She sends her regrets. She lives in Headley and travels throughout the South Okanagan doing this work, but unfortunately today didn't work for her. So. I can speak loudly, it's a small room. But you're on.
We have to have it on, yeah.
I'll just hold it up. Is that okay? And then click the mouse. Is that okay? Okay. As mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of the Community Foundation of the South Okanagan Similkameen. I've been with the foundation since 2009, and the Community Foundation actually last week, the week before, celebrated its 25th anniversary of providing grants to the community in the region. So our head office is in Penticton, but we do provide grants throughout the regional district, and we have since 1991. Our total grants in our history now is total grants are $3.4 million. Uh-oh. Did I lose this? It's not working now. Check. There we go. Okay. I'll hold it very gently. Okay. So our organization, the way we're structured is that we receive donations from the community. We hold those donations. And is this one working?
There we go. Must be Monday morning.
Yeah, so when donations are received at the Community Foundation, we hold those donations and we invest them. And the income from investments is held in perpetuity. Once again. It's working again?
Yeah.
Okay. So income received from investments is granted back out to local charities. So in our history, we've granted $3.4 million to local groups. Our total assets under management at this point is $11 million. And we, this year, 2017, are granting $420,000 to local groups. That's throughout the entire RDOS. So besides the granting, we do many other things in the community nowadays. We have our grant cycle, as I mentioned. We also have a bursary program, which this year is about $40,000 in bursaries. The unique difference with Community Foundation bursaries is it's not just high school students necessarily. It could be adult learners trying to get a diploma or a certification so that they can get a better paying job to support their family. So it's open to a broad cross-section of the community. And that cycle just closed. We had, I think, about 40 applications for funding for the bursaries. So for obviously granting for education. So last year we also provided grants for Canada 150 celebrations in partnership with Community Foundations of Canada and the federal government. The unique thing about that is it brought in money from outside of our region. In many cases we're able to do that where we match a grant from our side with money from outside of the community. So it adds to the total pool, and that's not included in our total $3.4 million that we grant. We also do a vital signs report. Every other year we produce a report on the health and vitality of our communities based on statistical research as well as a community survey of local citizens. And normally we would do it in 2017, but because of the changes to the long-form census, that data doesn't come out for in full until the end of this year. So we'll do vital signs again in 2018. And that helps inform our granting, and it helps provide nonprofits in the area with strategic direction in terms of what they need to look at for the future. Many other funders have also used the report for their own grant cycles. Random Act of Kindness Day is another thing that we like to do. We skipped it last year because of staffing issues, but this will be our third year doing Random Act of Kindness Day in late November. Osoyoos was really on board in the first 2 years, and as were most of the other communities. It's just a day of celebration, a day to encourage citizens to get out and do something nice for each other. One of the reasons we do things like that is because our goal as an organization has gone beyond building endowment funds. We don't focus on that anymore. We focus on building better communities. And there's lots of ways to be a philanthropist in a community. And one of those ways is giving money, but there are many, many, many other ways, and we're trying to encourage all of those other ways to be philanthropic and supportive of neighbors, essentially. I'll just say one last thing about we are changing our grant cycle this coming year. Normally we do it through December and January, and we make our decisions in February. This year we're going to start our 2018 grant cycle in the fall of 2017. So we'll be doing grant writing workshops in September, helping local nonprofits target their ask as effectively as possible. Our goal as staff of the foundation is to make it as hard as possible for the grants committee members to make a selection. We hope that every application is really strong and powerful. You can see some of the organizations that receive funding from Community Foundation grants. The one at the top there, the Ankeny Desert Heritage Society, has what we call an agency fund. Years ago when the development was first happening, they set up an endowment fund with us that automatically grants money back to them for operating costs every year. So that's the largest fund for this area, for Osoyoos. And it was great foresight at the time to put that money aside and provide them with an ongoing stream of operating revenue in the long term. We've also, as an organization, provided funding to these other societies through the regular grant application process. You can see at the bottom there, the town of Osoyoos. There is a small endowment fund set up. I'm just drawing a blank on the woman's name right now, where we provide a grant every year to the town of Osoyoos to help maintain the Pioneer Walkway.
Marjorie McLean?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. So since 2010, $102,000 in grants to the Osoyoos. That's just a graph showing the changes over time. A really important part of our work now is trying to build community funds in each community. We have $11 million in assets. Some of that is what we call discretionary, where we can choose who the grants go to. Most of the time, though, donors have some criteria that they set up. They want their money to their grants each year to go to seniors or to animal welfare or the environment, or they want it to only go to Penticton or only to Osoyoos or only to Oliver. So we work within the constraints of our donors' requests and then also try to support the greatest need in the community. So it's a bit of a balancing act. One of the things that we find is really important at this point is for local citizens in each community to find a way to support their local community. We have a pot of regional money that we can use to support projects in the towns throughout the South Okanagan, but that means that Osoyoos applicants are competing against Princeton applicants. and they both might be super important for that community, and then we have to pick a community, which is not fun to do that. So one of our goals, and Kim English, who isn't able to be here today, one of her goals is to help build the community fund locally, so that the Osoyoos Community Fund supports Osoyoos projects, 100%. That's the ideal scenario. There are many examples of this throughout North America where this has been extremely successful. Local communities building massive funds to support their town and really effectively providing annual ongoing support for local projects. There's a lot of potential impact in small towns because they're smaller. There's still people here that are generous philanthropists, but the costs aren't quite as high in theory because there's fewer people, right? So if you build an endowment fund here, you can support forever stuff that's happening in this town because it's never going to be 40, 50,000 people. So so there's a lot of potential there. You can see the fund is currently $13,000, which is not big enough to provide the type of support that we've provided over the years, $576 in 2017 from that fund, but many other regional dollars have gone into Osoyoos to help support the projects that have applied for funding. One of the new projects that we took on last year was something called Neighbourhood Small Grants. And this is a different type of granting for us, again, building on the community philanthropy idea, encouraging citizens to do something in their community to make their community better. Neighbourhood Small Grants is different in that we're not providing a grant to a charity in this case, we're providing a grant to an individual in partnership with the town of Osoyoos, because CRA does not allow the community foundation to cut a check to an individual. We can't do that, so we partner with all the municipalities in the region to help us make these projects possible. The giving cupboard that happened last year was something that happened as a result of a Neighbourhood Small Grant application. That was the impetus to get it going. These are grants of $500, so they're not much. One of our committee members in the Lower Similkameen coined the phrase, small enough to do, big enough to matter. And that's exactly what happens. The citizens get together, they come up with a creative idea to bring their neighbors together and learn about each other. Another neighborhood in this community last year, for example, organized, I can't remember what they called it now, but it was essentially a security update for their community. A lot of people went away in the winter. Because of the transient nature of the residents, they didn't know each other very well. Some didn't even know what their neighbors looked like because they went on different schedules. So they organized a get-together where everyone got each other's schedules. They took pictures of each other. They have a bit of a profile of each neighbor, so that when they go away, they can look after each other's properties. So that's something that was also sparked by the neighborhood grant application. So we had about 35, I think, neighborhood grants awarded last year throughout the entire region. Doing it again this year. The application cycle has closed. We will be awarding, I think, 3 or 4 more grants for Osoyoos this year. That just has to go for formal approval to our board of directors at the end of June, and then we'll be able to announce those people. So I think I already talked about that. Let's skip that.
So, Aaron, can I just interrupt you and ask, when are you planning to announce those neighborhood grants? Because the one lady that has sent you in the application said she saw this on the agenda today and she wondered if that was happening. So, sometime in the next month, or?
Oh yeah, our June 27th, I think, is the Tuesday. That's the date of our board meeting, and then we're able to announce immediately after that. Okay. We just need to do the formal process, right? So. So the question on this slide is, well, the previous slide, how do we do this? And we do all of this work in the communities with local advisory committees. And this is something we really want to emphasize today. We have volunteer committee members in every community in our region who are dedicated to supporting their community and supporting the community foundation to connect and find the synergies, the ways that we can work together to make this community better. We being, like, for example, me living in Penticton, I don't know Osoyoos' issues, right? So it's not, it's really important for us to have the voice of each community when we're making grant decisions. So when we receive all of our grant applications from the region, the local committees review those grant applications first. Councillor King, his wife is on our committee, for example, and has reviewed those applications for a few years now. The local committee makes recommendations to the central committee, and more often than not, that's exactly how it goes, unless there's some extraneous circumstance. So local citizens are making decisions on local grants, and that's really, really important for us. Good. But it requires volunteers to do this. And that's one of the reasons we're here today, because you all are very well connected in the community, and we're hoping that you can keep this in your thoughts when you're speaking with residents who are wanting to get involved. We have a committee, but you're always needing to maintain renewal and refresh and so on. People come and go over time, and we're looking for new ambassadors for this project, for this committee and the Osoyoos. And it's an ongoing process. We need to always be looking at that. So if you know of someone who might be interested, please let us know. We also welcome a town councillor to sit on the committee. That would be excellent as well. There will be 6 meetings per year, organized and managed by Kim English. So we have a staff member that supports the volunteers. It's not all on the volunteers to organize themselves, because that can be onerous. So we have the infrastructure support to make this possible. They do, like I said, they do grant review. They help with things like Random Act of Kindness Day, and the neighborhood small grants as well. So, yeah, I think that's basically this is the part that Kim was going to talk about. So I'm ad-libbing a little bit here. So, but I think I covered everything she wanted to cover. So.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. We do appreciate you giving us an update on this once in a while. And please come back once a year and fill us in, because, when we don't hear about it, we tend to sort of put it in the back of our mind. So we do appreciate getting a refresher. Yeah. So Councillor Campbell had a question.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff, and thank you, Aaron. Question for those listening in the public. For potential recipient charities, do they have to be federally registered nonprofits, or could they be provincial nonprofit societies?
They have to have federal registration. They have to be a registered charity with CRA, so they need a charitable number.
Right.
Technically speaking, that's the requirement, but what often happens is that we'll find a partnering agency for charitable activities where it might be a nonprofit society in BC that doesn't have a charity number. If they're doing a charitable activity, they can still apply for funding to us, and if it gets approved, we'll find a way to make it work. Sometimes municipalities help with that, where we can provide the money to the municipality and then on to the nonprofit. Sometimes the school district's involved, or there's a number. Every year there's about 10 grants that go out to nonprofits that are not registered charities, and we encourage them to apply first before figuring out how that might work. Just apply, and if it's a great project and it gets approved, then we'll find a way. We work together to make it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. Well, thanks, Aaron. It's informative and always good to see you, and good to keep up to date. I have a couple of questions. Is your financial information available for scrutiny? Could we see the overall picture of it?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you know what percentage of administration is attached to wherever you get your various sources of funding. If you know that figure, I'd be interested to know.
So our financial statements are audited every year, and we post them on our website. We just posted the 2016 financials on our website, and you can go back, I think, 10 years right now on our website and see our history. When it comes to the percent administration, that depends on how you measure it, because we're different than most other charities, where most charities, they have a fundraising goal and a budget every year, and they have their staff that do their services, right? And a certain amount of money is spent on raising money, and a certain amount of money is spent on service delivery. Community foundations don't do that type of service delivery, so it wouldn't be fair to them for me to use our percent administration as a comparison. Like most charities are around 18 to 19% administration costs, right? Which actually probably should be higher in today's day and age, because most of those people are working for less than what they should be getting, is what it comes down to. But anyways, that's an average charity is around 18, 19%, right? In our case, we charge an admin fee on the earnings on the endowment pool. So we charge a 1.5% administration fee on the earnings of our investments. So it's not charged. It's a different formula, right? We have $10 million in investments, 11 million that we manage, but some of that's other people's money. So 10 million in investments, and we charge a 1.5% admin fee on that, based on investment earnings. So it's it's about $150,000 a year is our admin fee, and then we get grants from other organizations to help us with the rest of it and fundraisers and so on. But because we don't have a service delivery angle that matches and aligns with other charities, it's not really, like, I would normally say 1.5% to that. But it's not. It sounds like, ooh, that's fantastic, but it's not a direct apples to apples comparison with another charity that has a more service delivery oriented thing. So the answer is 1.5%, but it's a different percentage from what you would get from another charity.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's a hard one to explain because everyone has this context of most other charities, and we're a unique animal. So last year we had $500,000 in donations. So our percent admin is whatever that works out to. I can't, 20%, right? So next year I might get $1 million in donations. If I get one estate gift, it's $1 million. So then I'm down to 10%. So it just depends on the year for us, and we're just there's one foundation per community where it's a unique beast. So it's a long answer to a simple question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, we thank you very much, and we thank you for your presentation and for explaining this really well. So
thanks for having
Aaron.
me. Yeah, thank you.
Our next delegation is Luann Chor, who is the CEO of, it says here, of SILGA, but that's incorrect. It would be SIDIT, Southern Interior Development Initiative Trust. And Luann, thank you very much for coming. And we hear about this. I've been to the 10th anniversary last year, but it's not something that I know a lot about, and I don't think any of us do. So we're glad that you're here to explain to us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor McCortoff and Council, for having me here. Do you want to do the slides? It might be easier. Okay, move this down. I'm not as tall. Okay. So as we're getting the slides done, so the Southern Interior Development Initiative Trust, as you all know, is a trust that was in 2006. Was put together, and the original funding of $50 million came from the province of BC. So in 2000, then it was legislated. We're set up as a corporation, independent of government, and it commenced operations October 2006. So it's basically governed by the Regional Advisory Council, which is all of the mayors and regional districts and some MLAs are part of that. So that's who governs this. So the province of BC impacts and influences, but doesn't govern. Okay, next slide. Let me just cover that. Okay, so here, is it on? Be careful with it. Okay, so this is our board of directors. So our present chair of the board is Grace McGregor, Director Area C. She's from the Columbia-Kootenay region. Columbia and Kootenay directors are Lonnie Parker, Mayor Lee Pratt of Cranbrook, Amy Watson, Director Area D. And then there's the Thompson Okanagan, Mayor Greg McCoon from Enderby, Mayor Doug Finlatter from West Kelowna, Mayor Al Rain from Sun Peaks, and who you will know is Mayor Ron Havanis from Oliver. Then there are appointed directors. So basically the board is consisted of 8 elected officials and 5 appointees from the provincial government. So these are business people. Right, currently we have John Zimmer from Cranbrook, Claudette Everett, she's currently our vice chair. She's from Vernon. Peter Moore, he's a retired accountant. He's from Vernon. David Wilkes from Sparwood, and we have one vacancy, Beth Garish, who a lot of I'm sure you know, was not able to continue on the board. So we are looking for, once the government's all set, then we'll go to the government and ask them if they can appoint someone for us. And this is our region. As you can see, very vast region. We're the Thompson, Okanagan, and the Kootenay boundary. We go all the way up to Blue River, over to Hope, all the way down this area, Golden, so ours is very vast. So as you can see, the mission of the Southern Interior is to support strategic investments and economic development projects will have long-lasting and measurable regional benefits for the Southern Interior. So that mission was put forth in 2006 when the original board was put together to figure out what they'd like to do with the funds, and that has stuck. These are mandated investment sectors. So these were set in 2006, and we do have challenged sometimes, and why is that there? So Olympic opportunities, as some of you later in the presentation, Okanagan Hockey School, we actually did do some loan funding for Okanagan, and we're still partnered with them. So you could sort of say they bring Olympic opportunities. Red Mountain, same thing. We put some money into the ski hill up at Red Mountain. So current programs. So we'll go through, we have 4 programs that Southern Interior does. Community investment, and this is what will interest you, grants for not-for-profits and municipalities. So basically, not-for-profits and municipalities will apply for our grants. Municipalities, we've done broadband. You'll see later in the presentation, I've actually highlighted the ones that have been done in this area. So our grant program is, we do $25,000 for grants, and we budget about $500,000 a year, which we've been doing for the last few years, and $25,000. Some of that money goes to the technology accelerators, but some goes into not-for-profits. Municipalities, we will consider $50,000 grants if it's project specific and a need can be identified. The next thing that we do is we do invest in promising commercial enterprises, which are businesses, for-profit businesses. We do term loans, convertible debenture loans, and letters of credit. Letters of credit will provide the security to a bank for an operating line of credit, but they have to be approved through the bank for the operating line of credit, and then we'll provide the security. The other thing we do is business advisory services. We just rolled this new program out in September. We found that a lot of businesses, and we really would like to roll it out into the not-for-profit too, but right now we're doing it with the profit community. All they need is peer-to-peer mentoring. They don't need to pay $20,000, nor can they afford it. They just need someone to come in and talk to them. So there is a fee for the service, or help them, or teach them. So our advisors do not go in and do the work for them. They go in and teach them how to do the work, or one of their employees. So we just started that. And the other thing we do is post-secondary education. So the 6 post-secondary education universities and colleges in the area, we do help fund for them. The new one is, I'm going to blank now on the one in Merritt, the college in Merritt. We just started funding them. We decided to fund them. So what we do is we give monies to the universities. We don't tell them how to do it, so it's usually going to first and second year students, and it's scholarship funding. The other thing that came about was Dr. Buzzard and I met, the UBCO chancellor met, and we were talking about businesses, because a lot of business walks go on, they can't find employees, they can't do this, they can't do that. So we looked at a program jointly, and we're piloting right now, where CITIT will provide 50% of the wage costs for businesses to hire students. So, and then we're going one step further on that, because we have this business advisor. We'll come up with a flat fee where one of our advisors go and help them plan out how the student, can get the best out of it. So it's got a mutual agreement. It is what the business can get something out of it, and the student can get something out of it. So this is something we're piloting right now. They put it out. We put $50,000 into this co-op program for the first year. And they put it out, the university did, for applications. They were inundated with applications, inundated. And I found out just recently, some of the students are actually promoting it. The businesses going, you can get, if you go for CITIT funding. So 10 companies were chosen for the first go-around at $5,000 each for the employee cost, then the employer will be responsible for the other, although there's lots of job grants and things out there, so we're okay.
Can municipal They can apply too?
Yep.
So
They should go to UBCO and apply, and exactly what you're going to need there. We will, if this is successful, and during our strategic planning for the board, which we'll have in the fall, we'll talk about rolling it out to the rest of the colleges and universities, and talking to them about, okay, there's X number of dollars, how do you want to allocate this for our funding? So we'd love to come up with more, but, we got to live within our means. When we look at any of those things, these are what we're actually looking at. This is what we're emphasizing: environmentally friendly investments in research and development, investments that contribute to the diversification of the economy, investments that contribute to small community sustainability, investments that have a regional impact, and investments that result in sustainable job creation, job preservation, and enhancement. This is what we live by. Every application that comes to us, we have to tick, 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 that none of them are going against. Okay, so the grant, I know it's of interest to lots of municipalities, so we've sort of put registered not-for-profit societies, institutions, First Nations, regional districts, industry associations. It's got to be project-specific, so it's not, we're not funding so you can be part of your operating plan. We're funding because you have an actual project that if we look at putting grant money in, this is going to take off for you. Annual grant funding will be determined based on CIDIT's investment returns and operational performance. Grant maximums today are $25,000, as I said, 50 for municipalities if it makes sense. I encourage municipalities a lot of times, especially in the rural, band together if it's like what they did for the broadband in the Kootenays, band together and then, see what we can do. Eligibility, these are some more eligibilities consistent with our act. We are governed by an act, and vision and missions are set by the board when we do our strategic planning in the fall. We want to see regional benefits. We want to, for municipalities, the increased tax base, job creation, things like that are really important to us when we're analyzing it. And evaluation reporting of success against clear performance measures. So we're looking for, when they're project for grants, we're actually looking for them to give us some financial, like how's this going to work? And ask them lots of questions. And the same with Aaron was saying, really work with them to see where we can get for this. And then in eligibility, right now we're not doing feasibility studies, marketing, and help studies. Activities that don't comply, major sponsorships, political donations, controversial initiatives. So the list goes on. Projects that the infrastructure would normally be funded by government, roads, water, and sewer projects, recreational facilities. So we stay away from that because there is funding available. So we really just want to be there for the need. We'd have the board of directors, last year we had an extensive conversation. When we get a grant in, we go through a process, we're scoring it, making sure it's meeting it. We will look at rural communities, meaning 25,000 and under. We will look at doing exceptions to some of our guidelines that we have set out, and the board of directors will determine when they go to vote for the grant if this is feasible to do. So municipalities like yourself and populations under 25, it's not as easy than the larger populations for you to get money when you're doing projects, so we're conscious of that. So that there, multi-year grant programming. So we've considered a lot. We're not stringent, but we do have to put some things in place. So Helen Patterson, she's a controller of CIDIT. She oversees the grant program for me, so for the organization. So, we talk about it, we make sure, but any population under 25, we're basically not being as stringent with our rules. Grants funded to date. So since 2006, CIDIT has funded $5.5 million in grants. And that amount has contributed to $58 million in projects. So what we do is when we grant, we're asking what is the full cost of this project that we're going into. We want match funding. We don't want to be the only one in, so we're looking for a minimum 4-to-1. So if you're looking for 25 from us, let's say a smaller project, you got to have 75,000 more coming in. Minimum. We'd look for more, so we're not in it alone. We're looking for partners. CIDIT has also funded $5.7 million in educational grants to date, previously when I was going through the university. So we're looking out for the youth to be our successors. Okay, so this is always interesting for people. These are some of the loans that we funded to date. And as you can see, I've just sort of underlined Great Bear Enterprises. That's a cookie manufacturer out of Oliver. So we have helped her out. Okanagan Hockey Group, as I said, they approached us to do it. So some of the shareholders and CIDIT, we got together to do what their need was. Okanagan Label and Print out of Penticton. We partnered with Community Futures out of Penticton on this one. And Regal Ridge Development, I know maybe not the success story, but at the time we're there, we came in to try to get this project off the ground. Full faith, I follow it lots. We still we own a piece of property up there right now, so CIDIT does. So we're following it, making sure that we can recoup our investment, and it looks like things are starting to pick up. So that's good news. And Dube Glass Distillery, that's just between Oliver, just as you come out of Oliver, it's vodka. We've helped him get this up and running and off the ground. So it's going. It's, we're considered patient capital, so we'll be patient and help them through it and do what we have. They do a lot of times just pay us interest only for 5 years. And that's patient, and then they owe us the money at the end. If it's a successful business, you should, in 5 years, see some movement. We will take our repayments back earlier if they happen to do it. Okay. And these are our grants. So these are the ones so we have done Community Futures Okanagan Similkameen Economic Gardening. We've done Desert Center, which Aaron had also done, I saw on his slide. Okanagan Similkameen Film Commission Society, we've granted in there. Penticton Center for Exceptional Learning, we've granted there. That was very interesting. I went to their open house, and I was just amazed at what they do. So then you've got Regional District of the Okanagan Similkameen utilization of the compost, and Similkameen Valley Highway 3-quarter project. So as you can see, once the applications come in, they're evaluated. So from the grant perspective, we budget that. As the applications come in and the grants are fully funded, this year it's going to happen in September. We're going to be fully funded in the grants. Then we do have to, we wait for the next budget year to come. Unless, and this year with the Board of Directors, we'll be talking about, we've been strengthening our loan portfolio, diversifying, different companies. We're hoping to have further revenues so that we can make a decision to put it out there. Okay, so just a little bit on the business advisory. I said to you it's peer-to-peer mentoring, completely customized. There's no, this is what we do. It's what you're doing for the business, growing the business, and sky's the limit. All the things that we can do. Okay, so this is our advisory team. We're just building it. So what we did is went out and we talked to people that had owned businesses. So they've lived it, breathed it, done it. Not someone that is going to be a consultant. These are some of the people. I don't know if, JP Kamar, he's from Okanagan Hockey School. These people have come and said, we would love to give back. We do pay them a small stipend, so it's not what their going rate is. So this is our team. And it's for small to mid-sized businesses, coachable leadership. They have to be coachable if you send anyone. If they're not coachable, we don't want to, if they don't want the advice, then that's fine. So we ask them, are you willing to take? Because sometimes they'll hear things that, are a little harsh. We want to make a difference. And it's not about market share for any of CIDIT's projects. It's anything we do when we get something. It's not about gaining market share. It's about the need. So I will always look out, like I always ask them, especially in lending, have you talked to Community Futures, business development, your bank, your credit union? If they need us, we'll look at being there and the same thing partnering. So for lending, we don't come in alone. There has to be another funds of money in, and we minimum 1-to-1. So if someone wants 500,000, we'll look at 250. They have to have another 250 coming in. So, okay, some of the clients that we have serviced under our pilot for our business advisory. So it's growing. And they don't have to be clients, as you can see. They can be any business. They do not have to lend office. That's not the whole purpose of this. The purpose is to be there. And this is our team. So we're a very small team. So when we come out to the municipalities and we do this, what we're asking for is give us a call. If you have somebody, tell them to call us and walk them through. We've got such a vast area, and as you can see, a very small team. And we will be there, but we do a lot. You know, technology is a wonderful thing, so we can do a lot with that. So this is our team. And I thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Are you based in Kelowna?
We have 2 offices. We have an office in Vernon, and we have an office in Kelowna. We will be relocating strictly to Kelowna April 1st, 2018. Okay. And it was mainly more synergies because it's kind of in the middle of everything, and we found that way we can get staffing. It was really easy to attract the skill set that we needed.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. It's always nice to have, you know, all the information together, and so we can have a look at it. And it looks like you know, I highlighted some of the things that you have provided grants for. So some people have certainly heard about this and done some work on it. I'm looking at Town of Princeton Revitalization Project. Was on here, and we're looking at doing something like that here. So I think we would have to keep that in mind.
Yes, we'll have to put an application forth. I'll leave you with some socioeconomic impact. We had one done. It really is saying what's the impact of CITIT been on economic development in our region, and we were absolutely pleasantly, you know, very pleasant. Well, we were surprised. I was surprised, but not to really see over 10 years what we've done. And now we're going into the next 10 years, and things change, and we're always open for suggestions and ideas.
Can I ask, how did 10 years ago, when you got the original $50 million, who dreamed this up? I mean, that was, $50 million from the government with no strings attached is pretty unusual.
Yeah, so Gordon Campbell did this. So he put $50 million into 3 areas, into the island, not counting Victoria, so the outskirts, into north, so the Northern Development Initiative Trust, and into the south. Good. So each of us all got $50 million. The north got an additional $135 million when BC Rail went down, so they've got lots of money. Yeah, but it was his initiative to do it, and he felt that if government controlled it, like if the provincial government at the time, I'm told, you know, I've talked to numerous people that are still in government that did, he felt that by letting the municipalities control the funding, it would go to what is needed, not be top-down type thing. So.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'll go back to the question that Councillor CJ said. Do your nonprofits have to be federally registered?
Are not. We don't do charities. We only do societies and that. So it would have to be registered as a society.
Just in BC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
just in BC, yeah.
Okay, BC. That's great. And the other question, what type of rate do you charge on your loan?
So we go anywhere from, so if we're doing, it depends on the instrument they're taking. If they're taking term loans, we're usually 1% to 3% above who the other lenders are, because we're going to subordinate to them, you know, we're going to take on the risk. When it's convertible debenture, that's considered quasi-equity, so that can be expensive. That can go anywhere from 10 to 14%. So we structure it where we'll capitalize interest. These are normally, in my experience, normally for technology companies and things like that are going to have an exit. Because if you capitalize interest at those rates, you could lend them $200 and they'd owe you about $500 by the end of the 5 years, which is not how businesses need to operate. So I go into term debt and I charge them interest. I say to them, please just pay the interest monthly and you're not going to have this accumulation. So the convertible debentures are more for technology or companies that are looking for an exit strategy quickly.
Okay.
Good. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you
Elaine.
very
We
much.
appreciate you coming down today.
Okay, thank you.
Next is business number 1, the results from the RFP to repair the town hall roof.
Thank you, Member
Mr.
Kordoff.
Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. At the May 15th, 2017 Committee of the Whole meeting, Town Council instructed the Operational Services Department to issue a request for proposals to repair the entire roof at the existing town hall. The results of the request for proposals are illustrated below. Unfortunately, only 2 contractors contacted the Operational Services Department about this project. Neither company submitted a bid to perform this work. It is suspected that the uncertainty of the scope of work involved in this project made it unappealing to the roofing contractors. Not being able to determine the extent of possible damaged structural members of the existing roof have suffered over the years makes it extremely difficult to estimate costs. The completion of a proposed building evaluation scheduled for later this year might provide additional information about the condition of the roof, which could then be used by potential contractors to more accurately estimate the cost of this project. So the options before council are, after the building evaluation of the town hall is completed, Town Council could instruct the Operational Services Department to reissue this request for proposals to replace the town roof. Option number 2 is the Town Council could instruct Operational Services to repair the section of the town hall roof over the main entrance as soon as possible. Option number 3, Council could request additional information prior to making a decision. Administration recommends kind of going with option number 1.
Thank you very much. We're sort of hoping that our rainy season is over.
Hopefully, yeah, it only leaks when it rains, so, you know.
It is going to rain? No, probably. I think we've had enough for this year, so we probably won't see that again. Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a couple of questions. So when we talk about the evaluation happening later this year and then taking the results of that to go to RFP again, are we going to, as far as timelines go, are we going to hit a point in a season that we're going to, because roofs can't be done at certain times of the year?
Yeah, winter's not a good time to be doing it.
Right. So is there a concern that with rain coming, potentially another winter happening before this gets done, that we could be doing a lot more damage, or?
Maybe. We're not really sure where the water is coming from right now. Like, obviously, at the front entrance is where the results of that water leaking comes in. We see the water flowing out of the wall. That's why the front entrance is in a wreck right now. But we don't really know what's happening, like, up in the roof or where the water is coming from. So it's possible that if the building evaluation is later in the year, that we would get that results and then put out the RFP too late for it to actually be fixed for the winter. So I'm not exactly sure when the building evaluation is scheduled for right now.
Can we move that up?
No. We've just got too many things going on right now, and that's one of my projects, and I'm targeting fall for that. I guess my best guess is that if the RFP process for the building evaluation is late, we may have to try and come back, we'd probably come back to council and say, we got to try and patch this up for the winter. There's just too many projects going on right now to get the RFP out for the building evaluation. My target is the end of August, with about a month, and that, based on the workload.
No, I understand that. I think this looks like it could be a huge issue if we don't get it done, bigger issue, and I'm wondering if we can, target a date a little bit earlier. But CJ, Councillor Rhodes, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor McCordoff. I like your recommendation. I think that's a good plan and a good tactic to put in place. And if we do run into any potential disasters between now and then, I think it would be good for us to address it when that happens. One of the issues, and I know it's a little redundant, I mean, you mentioned it in there, when you take off the top layer of a roof, which doesn't always mean the shingles, it also means the, whatever's under there,
right.
Usually plywood, but it could be almost any material here.
We don't know.
You don't know what's under there, and to speculate and think and try to repair mysteries is often a very difficult and costly thing. So I don't know, is this coming back to this afternoon's meeting, or?
No, it was it was kind of a direction beyond what our budget was. So we brought it back to the committee of the whole, and we do have $100,000 in the budget. So if the direction was to fix the roof, we would proceed based on approval of budget.
So you're looking for a motion now?
We're just looking to see, yes, if you support our recommendation, and if the recommendation is to fix it, we'll use the $100,000 that we have approved in the budget.
So are you moving one?
Yeah, I would like to see us wait until the evaluation's done and deal with any situations as they come up.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to that? I would just like to add that I think that it should be as soon as possible and not leave it too late. If we can do it earlier, get this evaluation done, I think we would all feel better. So option 1 has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dinwiddie.
You're welcome.
And next one, citizen petition for the replacement of cottonwood trees at Goodman Park.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. On June 8th of this year, Mr. Lyle Warmington contacted the Director of Operational Services with concerns about several nuisance cottonwood trees in Goodman Park. Mr. Warmington then was instructed to write a letter to Town Council outlining his neighborhood's concern over these existing trees in Goodman Park. Mr. Warmington has now submitted that letter, as well as a petition from his neighbors and an additional letter from a Mr. Sherwood to Town Council for their information, and that should be attached. There is no question that the cottonwood trees in Goodman Park do produce a large volume of cottonwood seed pods, or that fluff you see each spring. The trees do, however, appear to be healthy and in no danger of falling or causing damage to private property or pedestrians. The trees are large and obviously have been part of the neighborhood for quite a while. The Planning and Development Department is planning to produce an urban forestry plan and tree management bylaw this summer, and an evaluation of these nuisance cottonwood trees in Goodman Park would be included in this study. So the options before Council today are, after the urban forestry plan has been completed, any actions which this study would recommend about how to deal with these nuisance trees in Goodman Park could be implemented by the Operational Services Department. Option number 2 is that Town Council could direct the Operational Services Department to perform maintenance on the offending trees, which could reduce their negative impact upon the neighborhood. And option number 3 is that Council could request additional information prior to making a decision. Our recommendation is that Council adopt option number 1.
Thank you. And I do know that the urban forestry plan RFP has already gone out.
It went out last week.
It's in the process of doing that. Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
At Cottonwood Park, do we have the same problem?
Not as bad.
Are there not as many cottonwood trees there?
Not really, no. There are just these really, really big cottonwood trees in Goodman Park,
Yes.
right next to the washroom sort of thing, and
Yes.
they really produce a lot of fluff.
But I did drive by there yesterday, and they do look like they're healthy. So
Yep,
I
there's
don't
nothing wrong
think
with
that
the
they're
trees.
going to, fall over or anything.
Nope.
Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Just for clarity's sake, these trees are a bit of a nuisance,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not an invasive species, correct?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. And that's important to know that, because lots of trees are a nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on where you live in proximity to, nuisance trees and that kind of thing. But I think this is a wise decision to wait for the plan, and it will provide us with the guidance. And I'm sure we all have total respect for the residents that step forward and sign this petition. But at this time, I think it's very, very important that we wait and deal with this situation when we get that information.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. So are you making that motion?
I guess so, yeah.
You don't have to. I just wondered. If that. Can we let Mr. Romanko speak first?
Yeah, it's just kind of building on Councillor Rhodes' comments. Is interestingly enough, it came out on the wire last week that the regional district got a significant grant to plant cottonwood trees because of the historical significance to the valley and indigenous people. So again, not a nuisance tree invasive tree, but they are, I guess, a nuisance relative to the seeds. So something that we would hope that our urban forest tree project would identify, what is invasive, And again, what is very an important part of the valley and the community.
Great, got it. Yes.
Just one additional comment. I feel very confident in saying that when we do get this study in place and we're way more knowledgeable about it, that we're going to have lots and lots of challenges with invasive species long before we start dealing with nuisance trees. We have a lot of them in our community, and we definitely need to take care of those as a top priority, and that is the motivation for us doing this in the first place.
Absolutely. Yes, Councillor
Yeah,
King.
thank you, Madam Mayor. What's the timeline for the urban forest plan to be finished, roughly speaking?
Well, it'll be this fall because the RFP is out, and I don't know the closing date offhand. I think it's probably in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So depending on lining up a contractor, my sense is they'll be working probably on this in fall, and it'll be done before the end of the year.
Okay. Yes.
I'll move option number 1.
Thank you. And seconded. Anybody else? All in favor? Thank you very much. That makes sense. Back to Canada 150 celebration. This was something that we had sort of talked about just on our own a couple of weeks ago, and we decided to bring it back to the COW meeting. I think that many communities are looking at doing something special this year for Canada 150. Several of them are doing it sort of around July the 1st, which is the celebration. In Osoyoos, there is, of course, Cherry Fiesta, and the Festival Society was given some money this year to redo the float, and they're in the process of doing that and making it a sort of a special float to commemorate Canada's 150. In talking with some of the other communities up and down the valley, some of them are doing hot dogs, hamburgers, doing a mural, doing various activities to celebrate Canada's 150. So we just thought it would be a good opportunity for us to talk about ways that, or doing something special in Osoyoos that could be sort of a legacy for Canada 150. And I know that Councillor Rhodes has an idea. Would you like to talk to that, Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. Way in the past, there used to be a huge tree at the base of Main Street before you went down to Gyro Park or turned around. That tree sat down there for quite a while, and I can't really comment on it with a lot of authority because it was well before my time. But apparently it was well celebrated around the Christmas season with decorating with lights and that kind of thing, and was a focal point. So along came the opportunity to put traffic lights in there, and apparently this tree interfered with the sight lines for a few weeks around Christmas, and the Highways Department determined that it's got to be chopped down. And it was removed, obviously, because it's not there anymore.
Can I just tell you that it was actually not a tree that was permanently there. Okay. It was brought in, and people from up the hill would say, I'll bring the tree, and it was quite a procedure because they were 30, 40 feet tall. And there was a place on Main Street there, and the tree was plunked in there for Christmas and decorated, and then was removed. But you're quite right, the traffic lights prohibited that from happening anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so, well, that's good. Thanks for that clarity. I'm glad I said it was well before my time. With fact checkers checking everything that you say and do nowadays. Anyway, so that kind of brought up an idea that maybe we could revive that and bring it back, because it's kind of a neat thing. I don't see that ever happening at that intersection. It would just be too much of a thing. So then that kind of morphed into perhaps maybe we could do something in Gyro Park. And we do have a tree down there right now that is kind of all by itself, and it would be placed or is placed close to where the entrance onto the new pier when and if that becomes a reality. And that comes, so anyway, every time you come up with these ideas, there's 10,000 people that come and tell you that it's not a good idea, and apparently that tree does shed its leaves every year. It's not an evergreen tree, and that would kind of distract away from some of it. So now that we're facing the Canada 150 thing, perhaps we could, through a small ceremony and dedicate it to that event coming up, and plant an evergreen tree somewhere in that area down there, perhaps with a little bit of a plaque, saying what it is. And as this tree grows throughout the year, and because we will be putting power down in that area down there and everything, that maybe we could make this our annual Christmas decorating thing, knowing full well that on the first year it's going to be pretty small, but it would be dependent on that. And it doesn't have to be big.
Started out as a Charlie Brown tree?
Yes.
Yeah, one of those ones you get in grade 1 that are that big, and it takes one light, but, in 50 years from now, it could be 100 feet tall. But so anyway, that's my idea and suggestion. I like it. I've talked to a few people about it. If it's kind of placed in a good area down there that doesn't interfere with any development, it could have good sight lines from Main Street, and certainly from other areas could be viewed quite well around the lake and that type of thing. So,
Thank you. Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess my question is around water and a tree. I support trees, but is there water down there? And as we're trying to conserve water, now we're going to feed another tree.
So thank you for bringing that up, because I had one of the longest discussions that I had was regarding the health of that tree. I understand that the opposite may be true in that particular area, that a lot of these large trees, if they are not starved for water, they have very shallow roots and that kind of thing. In that particular area down there, that water table is very high, and we would have to create an environment down there of some kind that cause that tree to search and make the roots more penetrating into the ground, just for stability. And how we do that, I don't know, but certainly it seems like it might be the opposite of what we think.
Okay, I guess it would really be identifying the location so it doesn't interfere with any future development.
Sure.
Because if you're talking a fir tree, it can grow like pretty big
Yeah.
and wide.
Just to mention, the Waterfront Steering Committee has a good layout of that area and what our vision is of the future, and with walkways and how that thing goes. And I think there is some opportunity to put something down there. But I don't want this to be part of the Waterfront Steering Committee, because it's not part of our mandate. This is specifically a Canada 150.
And I respect your sensitivity. I just am just concerned, all of a sudden, 50 years from now, it's a giant tree and you got needles all over the lawn bowl, and I don't see where you're putting the tree is my question, because the tree you're talking about it'll last longer than all of us put together.
I'm thinking that we should just research this and have a look down there. If everybody sort of agrees this is a good idea, I think planting a tree is probably a positive step, no matter where we do it. And we could use what the Waterfront Steering Committee, the information that they have, plus Mr. Dinwiddie and his crew to suggest areas. I would just like to be able to, even if we don't do it right away, to be able to say to people, we've got this in the works and we're planning to do something special. And it may take a while to research where and what type of tree and how big.
Maybe the tree could be 150 inches tall, is there?
Or 150 feet.
150 feet.
That would start somewhere. So you put some lights on it at Christmas.
Well, and it may, if we don't get the
Only
lights
12
on it
foot
at
tree.
Christmas this year or next year or whenever, it doesn't matter. It could be in the future. Does that make sense, Mr.
Yes, it's a place to start. I guess my sense is that if we're going to put a tree down, down in the beach area there, that it should be an integrated part of the planning of the area as opposed to
Just
an add-on. So it's because there will be a need to bring power to that particular area. Alternatively, is it something that can be integrated into the Gyro Beach area right now, where we don't have to, kind of in before we, because then there is water there, there's accessibility. I know there is kind of a Charlie Brown tree there right now, but I don't know if that's the tree where there's a plaque down there.
Well, you can't touch that. That was put in by the gyros many years ago.
Yeah, the tree's not looking very healthy, but that's kind of a really good spot over there. Maybe there's another place, but it's something that we can take a look at trying to integrate into the overall planning of that area.
I believe that's what you had in mind, didn't you, Councillor Rhodes? And certainly that's my thinking. But
yeah, one of the things that I would like to see is echoing Mayor McCordoff's suggestion about, and it's only 2 weeks away, our celebration, but knowing full well that we probably cannot plan and decide between now and then, what I was looking for is the support of Mayor and Council to move forward with this, so that an announcement could be made that we are going to do this, provided all of the dominoes fall in the right direction.
That we've certainly got it looking at it. Does that make sense with everybody? Can we leave that with you, Mr. Manco, or how would you like us to deal with this?
You can leave it. Well, I guess the only thing you can't leave with me is the decision of council if this is what you want to do and to make that announcement. But we will take the idea and bring it to the steering committee, because it, again, in terms of the overall planning of Gyro Park, to see where we can best make it happen.
So what I would like to do, and partly the reason for bringing it up this month is when I make some remarks on July the 1st about celebrating Canada's 150th, I would just like to be able to say that we are in the planning stages of doing something, and we will research it and do it correctly, and it won't be done today, but it'll be done when we are ready to move forward on it. Is that okay with everybody? Should we have a resolution that we bring this up and move forward with looking at the planning of this?
Do we need a motion, or
I don't know that an emotion is needed.
Okay.
But there's no expenditure of money, so
Yet.
Okay,
so we'll just leave it with you that we will look at how we can make this work and celebrate Canada's 150 as an ongoing sort of tribute. Okay. All right. Thank you. And the next is Councillor Rhodes. You had D4. You were going to speak to an invitation to the Mayor of Princeton.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I feel like I've been spending a lot of time talking into the mic here.
Well, now that you're an accomplished arborist.
So the media and discussion in our town has an awful lot of opportunity for everybody to discuss our doctor situation in Osoyoos and certainly other communities in the South Okanagan. With that situation, it's good to know that there are success stories that have happened in southern British Columbia, and one of those success stories is one of our neighbors in the Princeton area. And I'm certainly not going to talk to the situation. I think it was very grim. They were facing not having a doctor of any kind in their community. I believe the population of Princeton is about 2,800, somewhere in that area. And, they kind of had a community engagement component. They had a large business, a mining company, that had a lot of employees out there that were not counted in the volume of people that live in Princeton. And somehow or another, this whole situation came together, and they identified a lot of the problems that they were facing and came up with a plan. And although I don't believe that they have totally solved the problem, it's a heck of a lot better than it was a year or two ago. And the mayor of Princeton, Frank Armitage, is a character, to say the least. He's a good guy, loves his community, and he wants to tell his story to us. And I originally thought, well, the first thing that I thought of course, that we know everything already, and we don't need any help and that kind of thing. But inspiration from positive people often helps provide solutions to community problems like we're facing right now. And he is an inspiring individual with a story that may help us with some of the things that they did in their community. And I'm not suggesting that we follow their plan, because every community is unique, but certainly there are things that they did in their community that perhaps we could look at, and I think that these things should start by hearing from a principal in that community. So I would like to suggest that we invite him to our community. How that's going to look and how he's going to talk to us, I have no plan. The one thing that I do know for sure is I talked to Frank last Thursday, and he is willing to attend here as long as he gets a little bit of warning and can work it into his schedule and that type of thing. And I'd like to hear from him. I have heard the story many times, but each time I hear it, I pick up a little bit more and that kind of thing. And it certainly, at the very least, might provide a little bit of opportunity for us to look at ideas that we may not have thought of.
What type of format would we do that in? Would that be in a cow? Would that be...
Well, I think given the nature of the topic, perhaps a regular council meeting may be better, because you've got dual coverage. It's of the TV, and many people do follow the TV, so I would suggest taking a look at that. We can provide, additional time. It may stretch a council meeting, but certainly the importance of the story and any questions, it is important to the community.
So would next step be a motion or direction to extend an invitation?
I think a motion from council, to have the mayor contact the mayor of Princeton and invite him to tell his story.
I will see him tomorrow at our rural health meeting. He and I both go to that, so I can certainly extend it, but could I ask him which dates that we have that would be the most suitable, and then get Mrs. Hilson to send a request?
Yeah, I'd be happy to make that motion. Like I said, I did talk to him, and he is willing to come here. And actually, not just because I asked him, I think he enjoys telling his story quite a bit. And a story is a bad choice of words. It's more a fact-finding thing than anything. But he has a very compelling way of getting his message out. And so I would make a motion based on that.
Second.
Okay, good. All in favor? Thank you. So I'll check with him tomorrow and then get back and deal with that right away. Okay, thank you very much. So there wasn't anything else. I think that's the end of it. Could we have a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Campbell, all in favor. Thank you. Did Aaron Freak on Thursday?